gives you everything in a nutshell, basically. But it's not a good idea often to start with that, because Vedanta can often be yawn-inducing, soporific. So it's good to start with a book which is more exciting, which things are happening. That's why often I start with a much shorter text called Drigdrishya Vivek, also written about 600 years ago. I have given a series of talks on it, and those are available, 12 talks. The whole text can be covered in 12 talks. Actually, it can be covered in less 6, I would say. But I like telling stories, so it became 12 talks. And a little bigger than the Drigdrishya Viveka is the Aparokshanubhuti, which is a very interesting text. You get a good mastery of Advaita Vedanta. By the way, Advaita Vedanta can be stated in very few words. So each of these texts, whichever text you pick up, Aparokshanubhuti, Vedanta Sara, Drigdrishya Viveka, Panchadashi, Vivek Chudamani, Vedanta Paribhasha, there are any number of these introductory texts. They will all tell you the same thing. It's not that you learn something new when you study something else. Even the Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, all the Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, ultimately they are telling you the same thing. And that thing can be, what is that thing? It can be expressed very easily in one sentence. You are Brahman. You are the ultimate reality. What does it mean? What does this ultimate reality mean? And how am I this Brahman, whatever that may be? What good does it do to be Brahman? And how do I know that? All those things are the subject matter of Vedanta. But Tattvamasi, that thou art, from the Chandogya Upanishad, that encapsulates all of Vedanta. Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. That captures the essence of Vedanta. These are sentences from the Upanishads. So that's why I selected this book, written by Shankaracharya. And we won't go into scholarly controversies, because every time you subject these to scholarly controversies, they will say, oh, it was not written by the original Shankaracharya, it was written by some other Shankaracharya later on. Fine. But the tradition accepts it as being written by the original Shankaracharya, and stick to that. We are more interested in the contents. Now, it would have been much more useful to regularly study this. If possible, if not thrice a week, at least once a week. But because of the nature of classes and the scheduling, you'll have to do a little bit of background reading yourself and then come to the next class and so on. And I'll keep connecting what we have done. Let's dive into it. So what we will do now is I will read out the first few verses, the introductory verse, and then some initial verses, and set the ground for further study. And those who want to study it with me, verse by verse, in full detail. So there are 44 lectures which are available online. You can sit at home and listen to those lectures with the book. Each verse, word by word, is taken up there. So that's freely available on YouTube. Why should I come to class here? If it's all available online, you can listen to it online, but it's often more useful to listen to a live teacher. And one extra advantage you get is just today I was talking to a scientist from IIT Kanpur. He's visiting the United States now. He said there's something in a very difficult cutting-edge theory, and he didn't quite understand it. It's in his field. And recently he went to England, to Cambridge University, the Lucasian chair professor there, Michael Cates or somebody, I forget the name, he showed me the picture, the one who formulated that theory. So he said, I've been studying this. This is the sort of cutting edge work in my field. And it's like, he gave an example. He's a chemical engineer, so all his examples are fluids and stuff like that. So imagine in a fluid, there are few undissolved nuggets of some solid material. And my understanding was like that. I knew it, but there were things where I was not clear. So I went and we generally started talking, and just by listening to the professor, just generally talking, was not teaching me. Those nuggets dissolved, and it all became pretty clear what he was talking about. A couple of years back, I was at Harvard University attending. I'm very interested in this Western philosopher Wittgenstein. And so one of the world's leading authorities on Wittgenstein is Professor William Goldfarb. He is the senior most professor of philosophy at Harvard University. He was giving a course on Wittgenstein. It was pretty advanced. So I asked him, I said, I know I won't understand much, but do you think I can attend your class? And he said, he's very friendly. He says, yes, yes, come, just come and sit. So he had this orange guy in the middle of his class every time. And what I found was he's the senior most professor there. So what I found was every professor they have nowadays, it's common across the whole world. Professors have their own websites in a part of the university system where you can find course material, you can find examinations, you can find assignments, readings, all of that. Now his is, and I'm not criticizing. I don't know if he sees this or his student. He won't be seeing. He's not very keen on online stuff, but his students might see it. So often his website is mostly empty. He doesn't do anything with it. But what he does is very important. He used to tell us, come to class. I still remember clearly. Come to class. Sit here. Listen to me. The cadence of the voice, the gestures. Look at my face. Pay attention. You will understand better than by sitting in a cafe with your laptop and reading the handout. Especially when it's very subtle. There's a lot of information. You can read it on your laptop. I can present it on a PowerPoint. But what we are going to do here, you need to attend to me. He would say, here, look. It's something that's communicated. If it's something in physics, in fluid dynamics, can be communicated by two professors talking to each other better than by reading scientific papers, then Advaita Vedanta has to be communicated this way. So we come to class, and of course you can read it and by yourself and listen to the lectures which are available. If you find anything difficult, just listen to it. You also have the extra advantage of coming here and asking questions. So every time we have a good Q&A session. One way would be to ask questions the moment you think about it, but that can interrupt the flow. So I'll say something, and then I'll stop. Think if you have a question, keep it in your mind. Don't forget. That's a good exercise in being attentive. Hold on to your question. So after 20-30 minutes, when I stop, ask your question. All right, let's go right into it and learn this Advaita Vedanta. Those who have the book, you can follow me. Like all classical Sanskrit texts, it starts with an invocation. In Sanskrit, that is called Mangalacharana. I will use the Sanskrit words, but I'll always translate. So if you don't know any Sanskrit, don't worry, because I'm always translating. But it's good to hear the sound of the original text. It's beautiful and written by this amazing philosopher saint 1400 years ago. So it's very beautiful to hear the original, the cadence and the sounds of the original Sanskrit. The invocatory verse, the Mangalacharana, you can chant after me if you're comfortable, those who want to follow. Shri Harim Paramanandam, Shri Harim Paramanandam, Upadeshtaram Ishwaram, Upadeshtaram Ishwaram, Vyapakam Sarvalokanam, Vyapakam Sarvalokanam, Karanam Tam Namamyaham, Karanam Tam Namamyaham. I bow down to him, to Sri Hari, who is the destroyer of ignorance, the supreme bliss, the first teacher, Ishvara, the all-pervading one, and the cause of all lokas, the universe. The English is from the translation by Swami Vimuktananda. Other English translations of this book are also available. All right. So what is being done here? It's customary to start any text by saluting God and the Guru, praying for the removal of obstacles to the study of the text, or the author is praying for the removal of obstacles to the completion of the text. He's writing the text. And for us, study of the text, and we should get the benefit of this study, which is nothing less than, first of all, mastery over the system of Advaita Vedanta, but also enlightenment and ultimately freedom from suffering. So that is the goal of this chant. What is said here? Sri Hari, that's the name of Vishnu or Narayana, one of the many names and forms in which that one God. In Vedanta, the God of a religion is called Saguna Brahma. Saguna Brahma means qualified absolute. Brahman is the absolute reality, ultimate reality. Saguna means qualified. Brahman with attributes. What is Brahman with attributes? Basically, it's the God of religion. When you talk about in any religion, which is theistic, meaning worshipping God, you think of God as the creator of the universe, the preserver of the universe, all-powerful, omniscient, omnipotent, and so on. That God. So in one of the forms in which God is worshipped in Hinduism is Narayana or Vishnu. So Sri Hari is one of the names of Vishnu. And we can go further into the details of the name. What does Sri mean? What does Hari mean? But one meaning of that is the one who takes away, one who removes what? Our ignorance. Notice right now, right here already, we have an intimation of what kind of teaching is it going to be. Is it going to be God and therefore believe in God, or sit and meditate in a particular way, or do some kind of ritual? No, it is removal of ignorance. So if you're going to talk about removal of ignorance, the only thing that can do the job, which can remove ignorance, is knowledge. So we're going to talk about knowledge here. What's going to be done here? We're already getting a clue. This system of thought, this philosophy, it's a philosophy which is a knowledge-based philosophy. So Sri Hari, why should we think about removing knowledge? What's the point of it? The next word, Paramanandam, the absolute bliss, the highest bliss. So the goal here is attainment of fulfillment, bliss, lasting, deep satisfaction. Who is Sri Hari? Next word is Upadeshtaram, which means teacher. So God is the first teacher. In all the Vedanta schools, you will find, so they don't say that Shankaracharya is the teacher. They say Shankaracharya in the Himalayas, in the monasteries, you will find the monks, they will say Bhagavan Bhashyakar, the Lord commentator. What does he comment? Not sports commentary. Commentator on the Upanishads, on the Brahma Sutras, on the Bhagavad Gita. So Shankaracharya's importance is as the commentator who interpreted, set up the system. But the system goes further back. The Upanishads, they go all the way back to the Upanishads and the rishis of the Vedas. And they got this knowledge from God. So all of these systems, they will say, ultimately our knowledge has come from God. And that also tells us that we must be alert, we must be aware. Who is teaching here? It's not a speculative philosopher, not a pandit, not even a Swami, not even Shankaracharya. It's God who's teaching. So that kind of, take it with that kind of seriousness and reverence. This knowledge is coming down from God. Upadeshtaram. God is the teacher, the first teacher. And so Sri Hari, who is the ultimate bliss, who is the first teacher, Ishwaram, Lord, God. Ishvara literally means God in Hinduism. So he is the most powerful, all-knowing, all-pervasive, and so on. Vyapakam, all-pervasive. Everything in the universe. Where is this God? Everywhere. See, here is one interesting thing. Swami Vivekananda said, we Hindus worship a transcendent, immanent God. Transcendent, immanent means beyond everything, beyond time, space, universe, not this, beyond this. And immanent means in and through, not imminent, immanent. So in and through everything, beyond all material universe, beyond all living beings, beyond time, beyond space, beyond this universe, untouched by any of these imperfections, problems. So if God doesn't get COVID, God is not killed in the Ukraine war. So God is safe from all kinds of problems, but also in and through, constituting the very reality of these words. So both beyond everything and yet in and through. How can you be right here and yet be beyond everything? It's a question worth pondering. And it's something that Indian philosophers have always struggled with. And Advaita Vedanta has, I think, the final answer in Indian philosophy to that question. How can a reality be right here, immanent here, and yet transcend all the imperfections? Vyapakam, all pervading, pervading everything. One sadhu, a monk in the Himalayas, said, I'll tell you in Hindi and then translate. Jo yahan nahi hai, wahan hai. What is not here, but it's there. Jo ab nahi hai, tab hai. What is not now, but it's then. Jo tum nahi ho, wo hai. Which is not you, but something else. Wo Brahma nahi hai. That is not Brahman. So Brahman is something that is everywhere, all the time. And there's nothing, including you, which is different from Brahman. So, Vyapakam, this is the meaning of Vyapakam, pervading everything. But how does something, pervading everything means it must be here. Where is it? You will say, right there behind you, Swami, take a look. Well, all right. No offense meant, but it's still, it's there, but it's not here. And even there, at the risk of being sacrilegious, it's still a picture. It's paper and ink. And so where is this ultimate reality you're speaking about? It should be here. It should be now. It should be me. It should be this table. It should be everybody here. But I don't see it. It's no use saying that God is everywhere. But where? I would like to know. See, if you talk about a transcendent God, ultimate reality is in heaven, not here. Then I'm safe. If you ask me, where is God? I say it's in heaven. When do I see God? Not now. After you die and go to heaven, then you see God. Then I'm safe. I mean, you can't really catch me now. And then also you can't catch me because I won't be accessible to you. After this, if you don't find God, you can't say, hey, you cheated me. No. But if I say God is right here, the ultimate reality is right here and right now and everywhere, including yourself, then you are a legitimate question to ask, how? In what way? What are you talking about? Here the answer is Karanam, the cause, as the cause. What do you mean as the cause? One kind of idea about cause, and with the cause in Vedanta, in Indian philosophy, in world philosophy, cause has many, many meanings. And it's always changing. And a lot of research goes on. Even now, you would not think so, but even now, a lot of work is going on what is meant by causality. I just got a new book. I haven't started on it. It's called The Book of Why. It's about latest studies in causality, in science. In Vedanta, there are two kinds of causes were recognized, efficient cause and material cause. It's like this lectern, this podium. So this podium is built of wood. Wood, this one, is the material cause, the stuff, the substance out of which this thing is constructed. And the carpenter who built this is called the efficient cause. Very like a simplistic explanation. But the point here is, whatever constitutes the material cause of anything must be present in that thing. If this thing is made out of wood, it must be present here. And you will say, of course it is. In fact, probably the only thing that exists here is the wood itself. Water is the material cause of all the waves out there in the Atlantic Ocean. Then you would expect in every wave there would be water. Similarly, he's saying the material cause of this entire universe is Brahman, is Sri Hari, is God. So there is this, and we'll see what is that material cause. Is it protons? Is it neutrons? Is it superstrings, quarks? What is the material cause? Something even more fundamental than that, but we will not talk about it now. But they will talk about it, and it's something that's pretty obvious, which we are experiencing all the time. In fact, one of the beauties of Advaita Vedanta is it may sound like an abstract, abstruse philosophy. Nothing of the kind. It's more like a direct statement of fact. The more you come to understand it, more it seems, of course, why didn't I see it? Coming to see it itself That's still not enlightenment, but that's pretty close. And that itself is a great blessing. As we study, we'll begin to have these, of course, moments. Yes. So this is what it means. This is the nature of reality. This is what I am. This is what all this I'm experiencing. It continuously talks about what it is, but it's very paradigm shifting. It changes the way we look at the world, especially the way we understand ourselves. Tremendously it changes. Anyway, just as the material cause is present like wood in the lectern, like water in the waves, like gold in the gold ornament, similarly, Sri Hari, God, Brahman, is present throughout this universe as the very material, the ultimate reality of this universe. This universe means Sarvalokanam, all the universes, all the worlds. So Vedantic cosmology is, they talk about not one physical universe, but 14 universes. That need not concern us, multiple universes. Tam namamyaham, I salute that reality. All right. And there is, if you want commentary, there are commentaries on this text also. It will tell you that saluting means realizing that I have no separate existence, surrendering my apparent individual existence to this one undivided existence. So even the salutation has a deep philosophical meaning, but I won't go into that. All right, next. I'll cover 3 topics today. One is the Mangalacharana, invocatory verse. Done. You can check. And don't ask questions about that. No, don't ask questions. She already has a question about it. Don't ask questions about that. Though they do. There's a school of philosophy called Nyaya, the Indian school of logic. And they have questions about everything. So you start with an invocatory verse to God. I bow down to God. They'll ask, why? Because we want to complete the book. And when we are not going to do it if you keep asking questions. And then the Nyaya philosopher says, how does this help? Well, the merit generated by bowing down to God removes all the bad karma, and you can complete the book. Obstacles will be removed. Then the Nyaya philosopher will tell you, there are many, many books. Look at all the books published in Cambridge University Press, and none of them have an invocation to God, and they're completed. And look at, there are many, many books, especially moldy old Sanskrit books found in the museums, which start with a nice invocation to God, but they see they're half complete. The rest have been eaten away by the moths or something like that. So your case falls to pieces, that by saluting God, your book will be completed. Books are there with no salutations and nicely completed, and there are salutations to God, but they're not completed. Then the answer will, I hope you're not interested in the answer. I don't want to get into it. So it's a long debate. They will not allow you to start the book until you justify why did you bow down to God. And ultimately, and the debate helps, ultimately they come to an understanding. The purpose of the invocation, it's good culture. That's it. Can you accept that? And they say, okay, go ahead. It's a culture thing to do. The next topic I will cover is 4 preliminaries. Second topic. And the third thing I will cover is 4 qualifications. So 4 preliminaries now, and then 4 qualifications. And then we'll stop. 4 preliminaries. What is done is, when you start any kind of text, especially philosophical text, spiritual text, they will tell you, you need to know 4 things before you start. What are these 4 things? Vishaya, subject matter. What's this about? What is this? They're very systematic. What's this about? Statement of the purpose of the subject matter. What are they going to teach you? That's called Vishaya. Then second one is the Prayojana. What do you get out of this study? What's the point of it all? What benefit does it have for us if you study this? Third is the Adhikari. Who's qualified to study this text? You might say, what do you mean qualified? I can buy the book on Amazon and read it. Who's going to stop me? Nobody's going to stop you, but you won't get the desired benefit if you're not qualified. So who's qualified? What do I need to understand this text? And that's understandable. I mean, any textbook and any, you have these, in USA you have these 101 course, and then like 201, and So it becomes more and more complex. So what do I need for this course? And then finally, there's something called the sambandha. That means the relationship between what is going to be taught and this text itself. It's a technical point. So what's the subject matter? The subject matter of all these texts, Advaita Vedanta texts, starting from the Upanishads to this book and everything else, all the Advaita texts, the subject matter is your real nature. It answers the question, who am I? And you might go, I know, you're Swami Sarvapriyananda. And so do I know this. And Vedanta says, you're deeply, deeply mistaken. So we will tell you who you really are. And what good does it do to know that? Prayojanam. What's the point of it? Vedanta claims if you know who you are, you transcend all suffering in life and attain fulfillment. As easy as that? I don't know if it's as easy as that, but it's as simple as that. Swami Vivekananda in this country, sometimes he would say to American disciples coming to him, inquirers, he would say, if only you knew who you are, if only you knew who you are. That's okay. And then the next part is, so basically the statement of identity of Jiva and Brahma. I'm being a little technical here. Jiva, Brahma, Aikya. The identity of the sentient being and the absolute reality. That you are that absolute reality. This is the subject matter. And the result would be overcoming of all suffering. Dukkha nivritti. And attainment of profound, lasting bliss, satisfaction. Ananda prapti. Then the last of the four preliminaries is the relationship. So what does this book have to do with that enlightenment? And the book it has a relationship of, in Sanskrit, bodhya bodhaka, that which is to be realized and that which makes you realize that. It's just a technical point, but it's good to know that. All right, let's dive into this verse. So this will indicate to us the four preliminaries. By the way, in Sanskrit, the four preliminaries are called Anubandha Chatushtaya. And literally, if you translate the word Anubandha, it means that which ties you to the study of this text, which inspires you, which motivates you, which sort of binds you to the study of this text. So if you know these four and you find it fits you, that yes, I would like to know how I am this ultimate reality. And yes, I would certainly like to overcome all suffering in my life and attain fulfillment. And yes, I think I'm qualified, or I'm working on my qualifications to understand this text. So then you feel inspired to keep studying this text. And by the way, these four, they hold true for all Advaita Vedanta texts. The same subject matter, the same result, the same qualifications. Verse number 2. Aparokshanubhutirvai protyate moksha siddhaye sadbhireva prayatnena vikshaniya muhurmuhu. Herein is expounded the means to attainment of aparokshanubhuti, self-realization, for the acquisition of final liberation. Only the pure in heart should constantly and with all effort meditate upon the truth herein taught. All right. One word about the name, aparokshanubhuti, which is very relevant here. Very beautifully named. Anubhuti means experience. In fact, if you go deeper into the name itself, Anubhuti means experience. If you split up the word bhu, the verb itself, the root it means is, to be, to exist, reality. And when you add anu with bhu, it actually means knowledge or experience, anubhava, which for those of you all, yeah, almost all, none of us are absolute newcomers to Vedanta. We know, doesn't it point towards existence and consciousness? Mm-hmm. Who is isness, existence? Anubhava, if you say, put them together, is awareness, yes. And the nature of all experience, it's an experience of isness awareness. Think about it. Anything that we experience, you see, hear, smell, taste, touch, think about something, remember, enjoy, suffer. They're all different experiences, but all of them are constituted of isness awareness. I am and I'm aware. That, even I, you can drop it, am aware. That's the essential thing which is at the core of, at the heart of all experience. And it's not said here, but right here you have a door to enlightenment. One of the definitions of Brahman, the ultimate reality, is anubhava matra param brahma. Experience itself is the absolute reality. And you must be very careful immediately. It doesn't mean all kinds of experience. It means experience itself means experience without reference to the experiencing person, the experienced object, or the particular knowledge. So for example, I'm showing you this orange robe. You have this feeling, I see an orange robe. I am a person. And the orange robe is the thing that I see. And seeing is the mode of experiencing. Drop the I, the orange, and the whole modality of seeing. Just the isness awareness which underlies it. You'll find it's common to every kind of experience. Sense experience, emotions, good experiences, bad experiences, waking, dreaming, even deep sleep. All of it is isness awareness. Anyway, that's not actually meant here, but I'm just saying that's like a little door, a trap door to enlightenment there. Anubhava. Now, experience, knowledge. Let's take knowledge. Knowledge can be, one kind of knowledge is pratyaksha. Pratyaksha means perceptual knowledge. So, and note, all the time, when we're talking about Advaita Vedanta, it's not some dry philosophy out there. It's literally all the time talking about exactly what's happening in our lives, in your life, right now. So pratyaksha is going on right now. When you open your eyes, you see. That is pratyaksha. You're seeing through the eyes. When you listen, right now you're hearing my voice. That's pratyaksha through the ears. Now, you taste a nice cookie. I'm sure there'll be some prasad or something today. You taste, and that's pratyaksha through the tongue. You smell the fragrance of the incense. Pratyaksha through the sense of smell and so on. Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, all pratyaksha. And that's the direct knowledge we get of the world. There is another kind of knowledge. In fact, most of our knowledge is not pratyaksha. It's what we hear, what we read about in school. We know many things which we have not seen or heard directly. So that is called paroksha. Paroksha means beyond the range of our senses. Aksha, the word aksha means eyes, or expanded meaning will be all the sense organs, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, and so on. Pratyaksha, directly experienced by the sense organs. Paroksha, beyond the range of the sense organs. There are many things which I can't see now. You can't see many things here. And there are sounds here which are beyond the range of our hearing. There are smells we can't hear, a dog can smell it, and so on and so forth. There's so many things beyond the range of our sense organs. But we get a lot of knowledge from, say, you go to the library and read a book. Your teacher tells you something. Your friend tells you the latest gossip. All of that is paroksha. When you're reading a book, the book is pratyaksha. But the knowledge which is coming out of the book, that is paroksha, beyond the range of our senses. When you listen to your friend's voice is pratyaksha. But the gossip he's conveying to you, don't listen to gossip, but that is paroksha. Good deal of our science is paroksha. Good deal of most of our religion is paroksha. One kind of scientific method gives you certain kind of knowledge, inferential knowledge. Scripture gives you another kind of knowledge. They're all paroksha. Now, what we're going to talk about in this book and what Vedanta talks about is not something that you see, hear, smell, taste, touch. It's also not, many people don't understand, it's some kind of religion, some kind of philosophy. No. Some kind of religion, some kind of philosophy is paroksha. What Vedanta is talking about is aparoksha. What is aparoksha? If you translate, paroksha, indirect knowledge. Aparoksha, non-indirect knowledge. Hey, they could have said direct knowledge. Why non? Why double negative? But because direct knowledge for us is pratyaksha. We see, we hear. We say, I don't have second-hand knowledge. I have first-hand knowledge of it. I saw it. Well, it's neither this first-hand knowledge nor the second-hand knowledge. It's something prior to both. It's our ever-present knowledge of our own existence, that isness awareness, that I am aware. It's like this. If you come to this class here, and if you ask, if somebody asks you, who all are here? You will say, let me look at, there's a list we have of people who have come. Let me look and check of people who have come here. And I know this person is there or that person is there. Somebody asks you, did that person come? I think so. Yes, his name is there. If somebody asks you, have you come? You won't say, let me take a look. Yes, I have come. Here, I am here. You don't depend upon pratyaksha, direct sense perception, to see your own existence. And certainly you don't depend upon paroksha. Let me see if the person has arrived. I have arrived or not. So if you look at the list and verify whether I have come or not. No, I am here. That's silly. It's obvious to me all the time, effortlessly, that I am. My own existence is effortlessly available to me all the time. Whether you are in Vedanta or whatever your own existence, you don't even have to be a human being. Every living creature is aware of its own being, its own existence. It may not do philosophy with it, but it's aware of its own existence. So this amness awareness is aparoksha, non-indirect. So this non-indirect sense of our own existence, this is what this book is going to talk about. Not about some speculative philosophy, not asking you to believe in something, some heaven, some God, something. No. Not even about something that you can see with your eyes or hear with your ears. No. You have to see the book with your eyes and hear the talk with your ears, but the knowledge it's going to give you is far more intimate. It's about your own very existence. Descartes, the French philosopher, who more than 300 years ago, his famous project, he started out doubting whatever could be doubted. Descartes, by the way, is more known to most of us. We studied him in math, the Cartesian coordinates and so on. But Descartes was a great philosopher too. And so he started out by doubting whatever he could doubt. And he said, I can doubt whatever the books read, it could be fiction. Suppose an evil demon has made this whole universe to deceive me. So it all could be fiction. Even what I'm seeing with my eyes could be fiction. How? Because I could be dreaming. When you're dreaming, you feel you're seeing something. When you wake up and you say, oh, it was just a dream. So this could also be a dream. How do I know it's true? Then what is certain? What is certain is, Descartes said, I exist. That's certain. How do you know it's certain? Because I think. I cannot doubt I'm thinking. Because if I doubt that I think, that also is a thought. To doubt my own existence, I have to exist. Cogito ergo sum, the Descartesian famous conclusion. I exist because I think. I think, therefore I exist. About 1400 years before, 1000 years before Descartes, Shankara was writing, Yaeva tasya nirakarta tasyeva atmasa. Whoever denies the existence of the self, it is the self of that very denier. You can't deny without existing. You can't deny your own existence without existing first. So this undeniable self, that is the subject of aparoksha anubhuti. That's what that's what the topic is about. That's what aparoksha anubhuti means. Although in Vedanta, they would switch it around. They would say, I exist, therefore I think. Not I think, therefore I exist. I exist. Sometimes I think. Sometimes I don't think. When I don't think, do I disappear? No. I'm aware of the non-thinking. And when the mind thinks, I'm aware of the thinking. There was this little cartoon, profound. I think Descartes is sitting in a Parisian cafe. And this girl comes up to him and says, Monsieur Descartes, another cup of coffee? Descartes says, quite innocently, I think not. Immediately disappears. If your existence is contingent upon your thinking, if you don't think, you'll disappear. That's the meaning of the word aparokshanubhuti. Prochyate. This will be talked about. For what purpose? Remember, the four preliminaries, the purpose of this, moksha siddhai, for the purpose of moksha, freedom from suffering. Who can learn this? Qualified person, sadhi, the good one, the purified one. Who is the good one, qualified one, purified one? We'll talk about it later. The four qualifications. It's not enough to be qualified. You have to make an effort. Prayatnena means by effort. What kind of effort? Vikshaniya. Investigate. Study it carefully. More, constantly, moment to moment. Stay with it. Then it will yield results. Okay, so this is the second verse. Four preliminaries. Subject matter, Vishaya. The benefit of it, prayojana, purpose of it, which is moksha. Freedom. Freedom from what? Freedom from suffering and attainment of bliss or fulfillment. Third, adhikari, who is qualified. And fourth is relationship. So this book tells you the relationship. You see, it becomes useful here. We may not think of it, but these old pundits and ancient philosophers, they thought about things very carefully. So, okay, aparoksha anubhuti is that direct experience of my own existence. We're going to talk about that. Fine. But why are you calling this book? This book is not the direct experience of my own existence. Book is not aparoksha anubhuti. So, I mean, you might say just quibbling, but the answer is yes. So the book will give us that knowledge. Will point that knowledge out to us. So that's why the book was also called, in a secondary sense, it's called aparoksha anubhuti. Good. Now, typical problem. We have run out of time. So we'll go into the Q&A, but let me just give you an outline of the qualifications necessary for Vedanta. This has to be stated in the beginning. It's the dry, hard, unglamorous work of spiritual life, but it is very important. Swami Vivekananda used to say, I know where the shoe pinches. One philosopher, one great Swami, who was a modern teacher of Advaita Vedanta, said that if these qualifications are there, you study Vedanta, it will lead you to enlightenment straight away. If these qualifications are not there in sufficient measure, we have it all. And you have it, otherwise you wouldn't come here, you will see. But we don't maybe have it to that level of excellence. If we don't have it, we don't have sufficient amount of these qualifications, what will happen is, you'll end up feeling, I learned a very clever philosophy. It was nice, but it really didn't make any difference to me in my life. So with the qualifications, enlightenment. Without the qualifications, without no qualifications at all, completely unsuited to this, then what will happen is no interest. Not come here at all, drive by. Or maybe just step on the gas when you drive by. I don't want any part of this. Or interested, come here, listen. I don't get it. What are they talking about? So some interest is there, but inability to absorb it. And so the teachers have different grades of, they don't give up on any student. And they find the student is sitting with the Vedanta book looking puzzled. What are they talking about? Say, okay, you go to that other class. In that other class, they will say, sit straight, meditate, breathe in, breathe out, and then say, Om. And the student says, yes, this is what I wanted. Good, that's for you. So, not sufficient qualification, you might find somebody might be interested, but not getting it. Or, little better, which is more common, you are interested and you do get what is being said here. But then you don't feel it's real and it's not changing your life immediately or quickly enough. That's because of the lack of these qualifications. What are these qualifications? I will not go through the verses. unless we have time to. We just enumerate the qualifications. Best to always keep them in mind. It's like when you're driving, you keep a lookout what's going on in front of you, what's going on behind you, look at your the speed and the gas, and certain things you, a driver, will automatically keep track of. Similarly, when you're driving along in the journey of spiritual life, these are the 4 things you keep your eyes on, that they should be in the optimum range. What are they? Viveka. Viveka means discernment. The old Swamis, you'll see in this book, the old Swamis would translate it as discrimination, but discrimination is a bad word. So discernment, actually it means discernment. Discernment means separating 2 things, the eternal and the non-eternal, that there is an ultimate reality, that something worth learning and attaining here, and everything else is transitory, and it's worth thinking about, that everything else in life is changing like a shadow passing, like the Buddha said, that like bubbles in a fast flowing stream, like a phantom in the night, like a flash of lightning. All things in the world are like that. Think about that transitory nature of things and people and places, and even one's own body, one's ideas, all of them are like that. The unsettled transitory nature of life, and that there is some ultimate reality to be attained. You just think of the unsettled transitory nature of life, you'll end up depressed. That's true. That's what happens to any serious French existentialists. They made a big deal of the depression. It's part of being philosophical. Somebody wrote to me, is deep depression a necessary step in spiritual life? I said, no. And that's pathology. You need to deal with it. If it comes, it can be dealt with, and you deal with it. But it's not necessary that you have to be depressed to be spiritual. One can be spiritual. One can come out of spiritual life, can come out of depression, and it has in some cases. This famous teacher Eckhart Tolle, Power of Now. He spontaneously awakened, but before that he suffered terribly through deep depression. But both the depression was spontaneous and the awakening was spontaneous. So you can't sit around waiting for either the depression or the awakening to happen. It's better to come to class. One humorous teacher, he said, somebody asked him, so it's intuition, right? You intuitively realize you are what you are, the Buddha nature, Brahman, or whatever. He said, we don't believe in intuition. We believe in tuition. Come to class. If you get that intuitive flash, well and good, it'll happen. But till that point, this is important. You must build up to it. Viveka, then Vairagya. Very important. A certain distance, a certain dispassion for worldliness. You don't have to be a monk to do that, but you have to be monk-like inside. I say this often. People ask, so it's a very monk-like philosophy. Yes, you have to be monk-like inside. And when you become interested in Vedanta, you automatically become a little monk-like inside. You can be in the middle of your house, your car, no, and leave you on the peak of a mountain, no. Remember, Bhagavad Gita, the teacher, Krishna, was a householder, and Arjuna, the student, was a householder. And at the end of the teaching, both of them continued as householders. So it is meant for a spiritual philosophy which is meant for all times and places and circumstances. But dispassion for worldliness. This idea that things in the world will give me satisfaction. And I'm continuously pouring myself out into the world. Dreams. So a little less of that. It's better to sleep a little bit. And then turn inwards and quietly. This in Hindi he said it. ये साधन जो है महात्मा जी थोड़ा पीछे हटके होती है. This spiritual practice is you have to step back. Everything else in the world is stepping forward into something, into a job, into a relationship, into a program, into some activity. This is stepping back. This is Vairagya, stepping back. Then a 6-fold discipline. So a little bit of cheating here. One is discernment, viveka. The second is dispassion, vairagya. The third one, instead of one, they have packed 6 into it. These are basically disciplines. They're called the 6 treasures. Shat Sampatti. Basically, calmness of mind, shamaha, control of the organs of knowledge and action, like what you do. Then titiksha, a kind of spiritual fortitude of toughness. You put up with so much trouble to hold a job, to raise a family. So you put up with some trouble for spiritual life also. Because whatever you do in this world, worldly or spiritual, the world is going to put up resistance for you. Not the weather. I am going to study this. I am going to think about it, no matter what is going on in my life. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to study. So, titiksha, spiritual fortitude. Then uparati and samadhana. Uparati means reversing this outward flow for engagement and entertainment in the world. Samadhana means with that extra time and energy, focus on Vedanta. Sixth, Shraddha, a faith, a working faith that whatever is in these texts, whatever the teacher is saying, is worthwhile. I may not get it right now, but soon enough I'll get it. Just like you have faith in a professor in a college course. And then mumukshutvam, the fourth one, is intense desire to be free. Fourfold qualifications. We all have it to some extent. If you didn't have that discernment, you wouldn't turn up for class. There is something worthwhile. A lot of people don't think so. So you turn up for class. If you didn't have at least some dispassion for worldly things, you wouldn't pull yourself away from the world. And some yearning for spiritual growth, development, freedom is there. That's why we are all here. We have it, but keep our eyes on it. You'll notice as we go along in spiritual life, one thing you'll notice that the questions which come to us, the struggles which come to us in spiritual life, they all come because of some lack in something of these four qualifications. The problem is really not with, somebody said, knowledge, knower, knowable thing, and the knowledge itself. So the source of knowledge. How do I get this knowledge? For example, book, the thing to be known. Eyes are my source of knowledge. That's the thing to be known. Vedanta, the texts, the teachings, that's the source of the knowledge. And I, the seeker, I am the knower. Now, ultimate reality is perfect by definition. Vedanta also is pretty perfect. So if some problems are there in spiritual life, it must be with me, the seeker. And where are those problems? The fourfold qualifications. All right, we have run out of time. Should we take some questions now? Your homework will be to study the verses 3 to 10, which is the fourfold qualifications. We do some questions now, or if you don't have questions, we're going to dive into your homework. You raise your hand. Anybody wants to say something? Yes. Tell us your name and ask the question.
I'm Govi Charji. I'm coming from Kolkata, and you know me. And
yes.
Seen it before also. I'm sorry that I'm so unfortunate that I couldn't attend your talks over there, and I repented for that. Anyway, I came to Connecticut and I can see you. And this is a thing that what you said now. What I feel is the knower, knowledge, and known. These are all. I mean, all are in reflected consciousness level. Means Abhash. I'm going to the right path in my understanding. That's what my question is. So, if this is that, then the knower has to renounce because he's still the subject. Because subject objects are still there. So he has to renounce subjectivity. Means the knower has to give up his ego to the self, to the capital C or what you call it, self. So, and then he is enlightened. Until he does that, he's not enlightened. I mean, I'm saying in a technical form. So,
What's the question then?
The question is that, am I going to the right path in my understanding? Or
yes, as long as we are, take it in a general sense. It is true. Someone might say that you're saying knower, known, and knower, knowledge, and the knowable, but Brahman is not a knowable in that sense. It's a very nature of the knower. So yes, in the ultimate sense, that's true. I'm speaking in a very general way of knowing anything. When I'm saying, suppose you're studying physics. So the subject is perfect, that what you're trying to know the universe, the textbooks are authentic. So if I'm not getting it, it's my problem. Somewhere in my understanding, there's a problem. Sometimes, if you are brilliant enough, you might have actually found a problem in the theory itself. But here, the thing is, I'm trying to point out, Our problems are generally in the seeker, not in the knowledge system, not in the ultimate reality also. That's all I wanted to say. Yes.
Maharaj, I have a very simplistic question actually, rather
Tell us your name. I think
My name is Deepak Ghosh.
if you, I think it's best for instead of asking a person to keep running around with the mic, you can come up here, either here. Like, okay. You can either come up here or here.
Okay.
Yes, and ask the question.
My question is that all the contents of all the text actually, there's a lot of subtleties involved. You have to think it, as you said, right?
Yes.
You have to be at it. You have to stay with it actually to understand and realize the stuff.
Right.
And internalize it. Right? The point I want to make is that, so as Swami Vivekananda said that, you may take one path of bhakti and anything else, but you have to bring to bear other yogas also. So the question I have is, yet when you follow the path of bhakti, all the routines and the rituals that we do on a regular basis kind of thing, it includes japas and other stuff, right? But understanding the text of Vedanta requires meditating on some key ideas actually and stay with it. And in question is, yet our practices that are rituals that have been prescribed for us by our gurus actually, this doesn't dwell on that one.
No, it doesn't. But what it does, which we do, initiated into a mantra. Remember, all of them dovetail into this Vedanta. Vedanta is very inclusive that way. Only thing is, Advaita Vedanta will make jnana, knowledge, the top of the pyramid. But the base of the pyramid is always karma yoga and bhakti yoga. Meditation, selfless service, devotion, these are very helpful for that realization. By themselves, they can also give realization. That is the position of Swami Vivekananda or Sri Ramakrishna. I mean, depending on the perspective you take. From an Advaitic perspective, in this class, we will keep ourselves, we will stick to this worldview, the Advaitic worldview. In the Advaitic worldview, Shankaracharya says in one place, Jnana vihine mukti na bhavati janmashatena. Without knowledge, without that realization, I am Brahman, whatever you may do, Kurute Ganga Sagara Gamanam, Vratapalanam, Athavadanam. You may go to pilgrimage to Ganga Sagar. You may give lots of money in donations, like charity. You may follow the vow of fasting. And yet, without the enlightenment, without the knowledge that I am Brahman, without the flash of enlightenment, liberation is not possible even in 100 years. So this is the Advaitic perspective. But, important, in classical Advaita Vedanta, devotion, selfless work, they are absolutely necessary. Why I'm saying classical Advaita Vedanta, there are some new Neo-Vedanta teachers today who go straight to the heart of Advaita Vedanta and say, if you just realize who you are, the job is done. It's true. If you realize who you are, the job is done. But in realizing that who you are, and that is the whole catch. And it's good to start at the top. One also begins to see that be careful when you. That's okay. Camera checking.
Oh, sorry.
My understanding is that all the rituals, which is after a prerequisite for the self-inquiry, which basically, the Vedanta talks about. So that's a prerequisite to that one. Yet the question is, so if I'm purifying my mind, yet I'm not going to the self-inquiry process, which requires meditation and staying with all the verses of stuff, do I basically get there ultimately?
Yes, that's true. Remember, the instructions given by the Guru and the mantra. I'm on tenterhooks. Okay. The instructions given by the Guru about the mantra, about meditation, they are not given on the basis that it will purify you and then you go to the Aparokshanubhuti class and that will give you enlightenment. No, they are supposed to take you to enlightenment directly. So remember, there are multiple worldviews involved here, multiple philosophies involved here. Here we are sticking to the Advaita Vedanta philosophy. Here also, they will say, if you do the Ishta Mantra Japa, if you have devotion to the Ishta Devata, by that alone you will be taken so far enlightenment